Jisoo stood at the entrance of the Galactic Academy of Applied Sciences. Her hands were steady, but her heart beat fast. The tall glass building reached up to touch the purple sky of Planet Nexus. She took a deep breath and walked in. "You are late," said the school helper, a tall blue being with 4 eyes. "Follow me to your class." Jisoo nodded and walked behind him. The halls were wide and full of students from all across the galaxy. Some had scales, others had fur. Some floated, others crawled. None looked human. The helper stopped at a door marked Advanced Engineering, Year 3, and waved his hand. The door slid open. "The new student is here," he told the teacher, and then left. The teacher was a thin woman with silver skin and white hair that moved as if in water. "Ah, the human has arrived," she said. Her voice was cold. "Class, this is Jisoo from Earth. As you know, Earth is still developing. In our galactic community." Some students laughed. Jisoo felt their stares but kept her face blank. "You may sit there." The teacher pointed to an empty seat in the back corner. Jisoo walked past rows of strange faces. A boy with red skin and small horns stuck out his foot. Jisoo saw it coming and stepped over it smoothly. "Not as clumsy as she looks," he whispered to his friend. Jisoo sat down and took out her tablet. The class was studying gravity engines, something she knew well. Very well. "I am Daho," said the red-skinned boy, turning to face her. His smile did not reach his eyes. "Welcome to a place too advanced for your kind." A girl with blue crystal skin laughed. "I am Sumai. Do you even know what a gravity engine is, Earth girl?" Jisoo looked at them with calm eyes. "Yes, she speaks," Sumai said with fake surprise. "Tell me, did your teachers on Earth show you pictures of real ships or just toy models?" The class laughed again. The teacher did nothing to stop it. Jisoo turned away and looked at her tablet. She had faced worse than school bullies. Much worse. That night, she had the dream again. She was on the bridge of the Defender *, Earth's largest warship. Alarms blared. Her crew looked to her for orders as the domain fleet closed in. "Admiral, we are outgunned 5-1, her second-in-command said. In the dream, Jisoo could feel the weight of the decision. The lives of billions depended on what she did next. She was only 25 then, the youngest admiral in Earth's history. "Prepare the gravity weapon," she ordered. "All ships, pattern Omega-7. "But Admiral, the weapon isn't fully tested," it called. "It's our only chance," she said, her voice firm. "The domains will not stop until every free world is under their control." Jisoo woke up with a gasp. Her small room at the student housing was dark. She sat up and wiped sweat from her face. 5 years had passed since that battle. 5 years since she had brought down the mighty domains. And now, here she was, pretending to be just another student. Her communicator blinked. A message from Admiral Jinho. "Position secure. Status report needed." Jisoo typed back. "Cover intact. No suspicions. Will proceed as planned." She looked out her window at the stars. Somewhere out there, what remained of the domains was regrouping. Her job here wasn't just to endure bullies. It was to learn everything she could about the Academy's advanced tech. Because the war wasn't over. Not really. And when the domains returned, Earth would need more than one lucky victory. Jisoo would make sure of that. 3 weeks passed at the Galactic Academy. Jisoo learned the routine. Wake up, go to class, be ignored or mocked, study alone, sleep, repeat. The other students rarely spoke to her, except to point out how primitive humans were. Today in Professor Hyunwoo's class, things got worse. The tall Andromedan stood at the front of the room, his 6 fingers tapping on the desk. "Today I will assign the big project," he said. "You will work in teams of 3 to build a working model of a shield generator." Students quickly formed groups. No one looked at Jisoo. "I see we have 1 student without a team," Professor Hyunwoo said, looking at Jisoo. Since humans prefer to work alone anyway, you may complete the project by yourself. Some students laughed. Sumai, the blue crystal girl, spoke up. Professor, is it fair to give the human the same deadline? Her kind still uses fossil fuels on their home planet. More laughter filled the room. Jisoo's face remained calm, but her mind flashed back to the Asterisk Defender's Asterisk Bridge. She had commanded a crew of 300. She had made decisions that saved billions of lives. And now, these students thought she couldn't handle a school project. I will complete it on time, Jisoo said quietly. We shall see, the professor said with doubt in his voice. After class, Jisoo sat alone in the study hall. She sketched designs for her shield generator, adding small improvements that even the academy didn't know about yet, improvements she had created during the war. That's not how shield generators work, said a voice above her. Jisoo quickly covered her work. A tall boy with gray skin and human-like features stood there. He had the mixed look of a human and another species Jisoo didn't recognize. I'm Taeyong, he said. Half human, half Pleiadian. Mind if I sit? Jisoo nodded, surprised. No one had asked to sit with her before. They're all wrong about humans, you know, Taeyong said. My human father was brilliant. He taught science on 3 different planets. Jisoo studied him. Why are you talking to me? Taeyong shrugged. I know what it's like to be the odd one out. Half-breeds don't fit in much better than full humans. Across the room, Sumai and her friends watched them. Look at that, Sumai said loud enough to be heard. The 2 misfits found each other. Taeyong ignored them. Your design is interesting, he whispered. But where did you learn about quantum-level shielding? That's advanced military tech. Jisoo tensed. She had gotten careless. I read a lot, she said. Must be some library on Earth, Taeyong said with a small smile. Later that day, Jisoo returned to her room and locked the door. She pressed her palm against a hidden scanner in her desk. A secret compartment opened, revealing a military-grade communicator. She called up an encrypted file and studied the specs for the Academy's security system. Part of her mission was to assess if the system could protect against a domain attack. Her real communicator beeped. Another message from Admiral Jinho. Report on security assessment. Jisoo typed back. Academy defenses inadequate. Could be breached in multiple ways. Will document all weaknesses. She closed her eyes, remembering the final battle against the domains. Their massive ships, their merciless attacks. She had lost friends that day. Good people who fought to keep Earth free. A knock on her door startled her. Jisoo quickly hid the communicator. Who is it? She called. It's Taeyong. I brought you some study materials for the project. Jisoo hesitated, then opened the door. Taeyong handed her a data chip, some texts that might help. Not easy to find. Thank you, Jisoo said, surprised again. By the way, Taeyong said before leaving, I was wondering, how does someone so young get calluses like a military officer's on their hands? He walked away, leaving Jisoo frozen in the doorway. Her cover might not be as solid as she thought. History class was the hardest for Jisoo, not because the work was difficult, but because she had lived through it. The teacher, Professor Minji, was tall with gold skin that seemed to glow. She stood before the class with a serious face. Today, we will study the domain wars, she said. Jisoo's hand tightened around her tablet. The room felt suddenly cold. For 200 years, the domains ruled a third of our galaxy, Minji explained. They took worlds by force. They made slaves of entire species. Images appeared above Minji's desk. Ships larger than cities. Soldiers in black armor. Planets on fire. Then, 5 years ago, something strange happened, Minji continued. The domains suddenly fell. The class sat up, interested. This was recent history, not ancient facts. No one knows exactly how they were defeated, Minji said. One day they were the strongest power in the galaxy, And the next day, their ships stopped working. Their weapons failed. Their empire collapsed. Su Mai raised her hand. My father was on the Galactic Council. He says a massive solar flare damaged their fleet. Daho shook his horned head. No, it was a rebellion. Their slaves rose up against them. Some believe a divine power struck them down. Another student said. Jisoo stayed silent, looking down. She knew the truth. There was no solar flare, no rebellion, no divine power. There was only a desperate plan by a small planet the domains had planned to conquer next, Earth. Earth was on their list of targets, Minji said, as if reading Jisoo's thoughts. Some say humans got lucky. Jisoo's mind flashed back to the battle. There was no luck involved. Earth had spent every resource, used every brilliant mind, to create the gravity weapon. It changed the laws of physics in a small area, making the domain's technology useless. Jisoo had led the attack herself. What do you think, Jisoo? Minji asked suddenly. Earth must have some theory about what happened. All eyes turned to her. Jisoo chose her words carefully. We are just glad the domains are gone. Are they, though? Minji asked. Some say they are rebuilding, planning revenge. A chill ran through the room. Most students looked afraid. After class, Taeyong caught up with Jisoo in the hall. You didn't say much in there, he said. Not much to say, Jisoo replied. You know, Taeyong said quietly, during the domain wars, my father worked with human scientists. He said they were creating something to fight back. A weapon that could change gravity itself. Jisoo's step faltered for just a moment. Sounds like a story. Maybe, Taeyong said. But it's strange that right after those rumors, the domains fell. Jisoo said nothing. Taeyong knew too much. That night, Jisoo received a holographic message from Admiral Jinho. His stern face floated in her room. Our spies report domain survivors gathering near the outer rim, he said. We believe they want something at the academy. Stay alert. Remember your mission. The message ended. Jisoo sat in silence. Her mission was complex. Learn the academy's technology, assess their defenses, and find out if the academy was hiding something the domains might want. She pulled out her tablet and looked at her class schedule. Tomorrow was a tour of the academy's lower levels, where the most advanced research happened. Perhaps there she would find answers. Jisoo lay down to sleep but found herself thinking of Taeyong. He was too observant, too knowledgeable. Was he a friend or a threat to her mission? Either way, the shadow of the domains was growing longer. And if they returned, the galaxy would need more than luck to survive. The day came for students to show their shield generator projects. The large classroom was set up with tables for each team to display their work. Professor Hyunwoo stood at the front. We will start with Sume's team. Sume and her two partners brought their project forward. It was a small, glowing dome that hummed softly. Our shield can stop any normal weapon, Sumai said proudly. We added special crystals to make it stronger against heat. The class clapped. Professor Hyunwoo nodded, impressed. Excellent work. Next team, please. One by one, each group showed their projects. All were good. All worked well. Then only Jisoo remained. Let's see what our human student has created, Professor Hyunwoo said. His voice made it clear he expected little. Jisoo carried her project to the front. It looked simple, just a small metal box with a button on top. That's it. Daho laughed. Where's the shield? Jisoo pressed the button. Nothing seemed to happen. Is it broken? Sumai asked with a smirk. Jisoo picked up a pen from the professor's desk and dropped it. Instead of falling, the pen stopped in midair, floating as if in water. The room went silent. This is not just a shield, Jisoo explained. It changes gravity in a small area. Nothing can pass through because the gravity field stops it. She took a small laser pointer and aimed it at the floating pen. When she turned it on, The beam bent around the pen, unable to hit it. Professor Hyunwoo's 6 fingers trembled as he moved closer. This is military-grade technology. How did you? I read a lot, Ji-soo said, using the same excuse she had given Tae-young. Su-mei pushed forward. She must have cheated. Humans can't make technology like this. They're too primitive. I assure you, Ji-soo said calmly, humans can do more than you think. The professor carefully examined the device. This is beyond academy-level work. This is. He stopped, a strange look crossing his face. This is similar to the technology that some believe defeated the domains. The room grew even quieter. All eyes turned to Ji-soo. It's just a school project, she said, but her heart beat faster. As the class ended, students whispered among themselves. No one teased Ji-soo now. Instead, they looked at her with new eyes, some with suspicion, others with fear. In the hall, Tae-young caught up to her. That wasn't just a school project, he said quietly. What do you mean? Ji-soo asked. My father described that exact technology. A gravity field that could disable domain ships. Ji-soo started to deny it, but Tae-young continued. There's a picture in the Academy archives. It shows the commander who led the final attack against the domains. Only their back is visible, but I've been studying it. The height, the way they stand. He looked directly at Ji-soo. It could be you. Before Ji-soo could answer, an alert sounded through the school. Red lights flashed in the hallway. All students returned to quarters immediately, a voice announced. This is not a drill. Ji-soo's communicator vibrated. A message from Admiral Jinho. Domain scout ship detected in orbit. Protect your cover at all costs. As students rushed past them, Tae-young grabbed Ji-soo's arm. Who are you really? Ji-soo pulled away. Someone who needs to get to the lower levels right now. The lower levels. They're locked during alerts. Not to me, Ji-soo said, her commander's voice slipping out. She caught herself, but it was too late. Tae-young's eyes widened. It is you, isn't it? You're the one who defeated them. Alarms continued to blare as Ji-soo made her choice. Come with me if you want to know the truth. But understand, once you do, there's no going back. Ji-soo moved quickly through the empty halls with Tae-young close behind. The red alert lights flashed above them. How do you know where to go? Tae-young asked. I studied the academy maps, Ji-soo said. She didn't mention that Admiral Jinho had given her complete building plans, including secret areas. They reached a locked door with a security panel. Ji-soo pulled a small device from her pocket and placed it against the panel. The door clicked open. That's military tech, Tae-young whispered. Where did you get that? Ji-soo didn't answer. She led them down a narrow stairway that most students didn't know existed. Meanwhile, in the academy's main office, school leaders gathered around a screen. On it was Ji-soo's student file. Her records seemed normal, said the head administrator, a tall being with 4 arms. But after today's project display, I have questions. She built a working gravity shield, Professor Hyunwoo said. That's beyond most adult engineers, let alone students. Sumi's father, a Proximan council member, appeared on another screen. Check her background again. Something isn't right. The timing of her arrival, this technology, it can't be chance. Back in the lower levels, Ji-soo and Tae-young reached a heavy metal door. Ji-soo hesitated. Before we go in, she said, you need to understand. What you learned today will put you in danger. I already figured that out, Tae-young said. But I want to know the truth. Ji-soo nodded and opened the door. Inside was a small room with screens on every wall. One showed the domain scout ship in orbit. Another showed academy students being moved to safe areas. What is this place? Tae-young asked. A command center, Ji-soo said, built by Earth forces 3 years ago. Earth has a secret base inside the academy. How? Ji-soo sat at the main console. After the domain war, The Galactic Council didn't want to admit that humans saved everyone. It would mean humans deserved a seat on the council. So they covered it up, Tae-young said. Understanding now. Yes, but Earth knew the domains might return, so we placed people in key locations, like me at this academy. A new alert flashed on the screen. The domain ship was sending a signal to somewhere on the planet. They're looking for something, Ji-soo said. She typed quickly, trying to trace the signal. Tae-young watched her fingers fly over the controls. You've done this before. Many times. Ji-soo didn't deny it. Computer, show archive file D117. A hologram appeared. It showed a space battle. Massive domain ships firing on smaller Earth vessels. In the center was a command ship with EDF Defender on its side. The view shifted to the bridge. There stood Ji-soo, 5 years younger but unmistakable. She was giving orders, her face determined as explosions rocked the ship. You commanded Earth's fleet, Tae-young said, his voice filled with awe. You're her, the one they call the Domain Breaker. Before Ji-soo could respond, a new alarm sounded. Someone's coming, she said, shutting down the hologram. The door they had entered through began to open. Ji-soo grabbed a weapon from under the console and pushed Tae-young behind her. A man stepped through the door. He was human, tall with sharp eyes and a military stance. Admiral, he said, saluting Ji-soo. Good to see you again. Jun-ho, Ji-soo said, lowering her weapon. What are you doing here? The situation has changed, Jun-ho said. The domains aren't just scouting. They're planning an attack on the academy. Why here? Ji-soo asked. Jun-ho looked grim. Because they know what's hidden in the vault beneath us. And they know you're here too. The admiral who broke their empire. Tae-young looked between them. What's in the vault? Ji-soo and Jun-ho exchanged a look. The original gravity weapon, Ji-soo said. The one I used to defeat the domains. The next morning, the academy returned to normal classes. The domain scout ship had left orbit, and school leaders told everyone it was just a passing vessel. But Ji-soo knew better. The domains were planning something big. We need to act normal, she told Tae-young as they walked to class. No one can know what we know. Jun-ho had returned to his hidden post near the academy. He would watch for any domain activity, while Ji-soo continued her cover as a student. In flight training class, students practiced using small ships in the academy's flight dome. They flew through hoops and around obstacles to test their skills. Ji-soo climbed into her training ship. It was small and simple, nothing like the massive warships she had commanded. But her hands moved over the controls with natural skill. Sumai was in the ship next to hers. Watch and learn, human, she said over the radio. This is how real pilots fly. The training began. 20 small ships flew through the dome, following the teacher's instructions. Ji-soo kept her ship steady, not showing her true skills. Then she noticed something wrong with her controls. The ship started to drop suddenly, then rise without her input. The steering became loose in her hands. Having trouble, Earth Girl. Sumi's voice came through the radio, with a laugh behind it. Ji-soo quickly looked under her control panel. Someone had cut some wires and reconnected others. Her ship had been sabotaged. The ship spun wildly now, heading toward the dome wall. Other students moved their ships away, not wanting to crash. In a split second, Ji-soo's military training took over. She bypassed the main controls and rewired the system mid-flight, her fingers moving with practiced speed. The ship steadied just before hitting the wall. Ji-soo turned it sharply and flew back to the center of the dome. Over the radio, the flight teacher yelled, "All ships land now. Training is over." When they landed, Sumai smirked at Ji-soo. "Lucky save," she said. The teacher checked Ji-soo's ship. "These wires have been cut," he said, surprise in his voice. "Someone sabotaged this ship. It could have been deadly." All eyes turned to Sumai, who suddenly looked afraid. "I just wanted to scare her a little," she said. "I didn't think." You didn't think at all, the teacher said. Report to the head administrator immediately. As Sumai left, the teacher turned to Jisoo. How did you control the ship with cut wires? That's impossible. Jisoo shrugged. Lucky, I guess. But other students had seen her quick moves, her calm under pressure. They whispered among themselves. Later in the hallway, Daho stopped Jisoo. His red face was serious. I looked up Earth's military after your project reveal, he said. I found something interesting. 5 years ago, Earth's forces were led by someone called Admiral Hammer. No pictures exist, but descriptions match you. Jisoo's face gave nothing away. That's not possible. Admiral Hammer would be older, unless they were very young when promoted, Daho said. A genius tactical commander. Before Jisoo could answer, shouting came from down the hall. A group of domain soldiers in black armor had entered the academy. Students screamed and ran. How did they get in? Jisoo whispered, reaching for a weapon she didn't have. Junho appeared suddenly, pushing through fleeing students. He wore Earth military armor now and carried a laser rifle. Admiral, he shouted to Jisoo. The domains breached the south entrance. More ships are coming. The academy alarm blared again, louder than before. Daho stared at Jisoo, then at Junho, who had called her Admiral. You are her, Daho said, his voice filled with shock. You're Admiral Hammer. Jisoo looked at the panicking students, at the approaching domain soldiers, and at Daho's shocked face. Her cover was blown. There was no more hiding. Yes, she said, straightening to her full height. I am Admiral Jisoo, Hammer Kim of Earth Defense Force. And right now, we're all in terrible danger. Chaos filled the academy halls. Students ran in all directions, screaming as more domain soldiers pushed inside. Their black armor gleamed under the emergency lights. Jisoo grabbed Daho's arm. Take me to the nearest classroom with a communication system. What? Why would I? Because I'm the only one who can save everyone, Jisoo said firmly. Now. Daho hesitated, then nodded. He led Jisoo and Junho to a large lecture room nearby. Inside, several students were hiding, including Sumai. What are you doing here? Sunai asked, her blue crystal face filled with fear. Jisoo ignored her and went straight to the teacher's desk. She pulled wires from the communication system and began reconnecting them in a new pattern. Junho, secure the door, she ordered. Her voice had changed. It was now strong, commanding. This was not the quiet human student they knew. Junho moved a heavy metal cabinet in front of the door. Yes, Admiral. The students watched with wide eyes. Admiral, Sumai whispered. What is he talking about? Daho stepped forward. She's Admiral Hammer, the human who defeated the domains 5 years ago. Gasps filled the room. Students looked at Jisoo with disbelief. That's impossible, Sumai said. She's just a student, a primitive human. Jisoo finished rewiring the communication system. Now it showed all academy levels on the screen. Domain soldiers were spreading everywhere. Humans aren't primitive, Jisoo said as she worked. We're just different. We had to learn to fight with less, to think creatively, to use our enemy's strength against them. She pressed some buttons, and the academy's defense system activated. Metal shields began covering the windows. How did you do that? A student asked. Only administrators can control the defense system. Earth Intelligence gave me all the codes, Jisoo said. We knew the domains might return. More domain soldiers reached their door. Heavy fists pounded against it. They're coming in, someone yelled. Jisoo stood tall. Everyone to the back of the room. Junho, ready position. Junho raised his weapon. The students huddled together in fear. What do they want? Sumai asked, her voice shaking. They want the gravity weapon in the vault below the academy, Jisoo explained. And they want me. For revenge. The door began to break. Wood splintered as the metal cabinet moved. "Why are you even here?" Daho asked. "Why pretend to be a student?" Jisu's eyes never left the door. "To learn. To understand the galaxy's best technology. So Earth could protect itself if the domains returned." The door burst open. Domain soldiers pushed into the room, weapons raised. "Everyone down," Jisu shouted. Jun-Ho fired his weapon, hitting the first soldier. Jisu flipped the teacher's desk for cover. "Stay behind me," she told the students. More soldiers entered. One fired at Jisu, but she moved with trained speed, avoiding the shot. "Hold your fire," a new voice commanded. The domain soldiers stepped aside. A tall figure entered, wearing commander's armor with red markings. "Admiral Jisu Kim," the domain commander said. "At last we meet face to face." Jisu stood straight, unafraid. "Who are you?" The commander removed his helmet. His skin was pale purple, his eyes solid black. "I am Commander Sangmin of the Domain First Fleet. You destroyed my ships, killed my soldiers, broke our empire." The students watched in shock as Jisu faced the domain commander without fear. "You attacked peaceful worlds," Jisu said. "You would have destroyed Earth too." Sangmin laughed coldly. "And now we will finish what we started, beginning with you and this academy." He raised his weapon toward Jisu. Suddenly, Sumai stepped forward. "Wait, she's just a student like us." "No," Sangmin said. "She is Admiral Hammer, the most hated enemy of the domains." He looked at the students with surprise. "You didn't know. This human girl destroyed 1,000 domain ships. She killed millions of our people. She broke our empire." He laughed again. "And you treated her like nothing." The students looked at Jisu with new eyes, not with contempt now, but with awe and confusion. Jisu's hand moved slowly toward a small device in her pocket. "Whatever happens next," she said quietly to the students, "remember that Earth saved you once, and we'll do it again." Jisu pressed the small device in her pocket. Suddenly, all lights in the academy went out. Only emergency red lights remained. "What's happening?" Sangmin demanded, his weapon still pointed at Jisu. "Academy Defense Protocol," Jisu said calmly. "I just activated the full system." Through the windows, they could see metal shields closing over every building entrance. Sangmin's soldiers tried their communication devices, but nothing worked. "Cut off from your ships?" Jisu asked. "That's what you did to so many worlds. Not nice when it happens to you, is it?" Sangmin's face showed anger. "This changes nothing. We will still get the weapon, and you will still die." Jisu looked at the students behind her. Their faces showed fear, but also something new, respect. "I need your help," she said to them. "All of you." "Why should we help you?" Sumai asked, but her voice lacked its usual mockery. "Because this is your academy. Your home," Jisu said, "and because I can't save it alone." Daho stepped forward. "What do you need us to do?" Jisu quickly explained her plan. Each student had a role based on their skills. Sumai would use her crystal-based tech knowledge. Daho would help with power systems. "You," Jisu said to Sangmin, "are coming with me to the lower levels, so I can get the weapon." "How kind," Sangmin laughed. "So you can see why you will never have it," Jisu replied. With Jun-Ho keeping his weapon on Sangmin, the strange group moved through dark hallways. Other students and teachers joined them as they went, following Jisu's calm commands. When they reached the hidden entrance to the lower levels, Professor Hyunwoo was waiting. "I always knew there was something special about you," he told Jisu. "Though I never imagined this." Jisu nodded. "The Academy built its greatest research lab on top of Earth's secret base. It wasn't by chance." They descended to the lower levels. Jisu typed a code into a massive door, and it opened to reveal a large room filled with advanced technology. "The vault," Sangmin whispered, his eyes wide with desire. In the center was a device similar to Jisu's class project, but much larger. It glowed with soft blue light. The original gravity weapon, Jisu explained to everyone. After we used it against the domains, we kept it here for study. And now it's ours, Sangmin said. 2 domain soldiers appeared from the shadows, weapons ready. They had been hiding in the vault all along. I knew you would have a backup plan, Jisu said. She didn't seem surprised or worried. You're surrounded, Sangmin gloated. My soldiers control all upper levels now. Are you sure about that? Jisu asked. She pressed another button on her device. Screens on the wall lit up, showing all academy areas. Domain soldiers were being trapped in energy fields throughout the building. While you focused on me, my Earth team activated containment fields, Jisu explained. Your soldiers are captured. Impossible, Sangmin shouted. How many humans are here? More than you think, Jisu said. We never stopped watching for your return. The 2 domain soldiers fired their weapons at Jisu, but Sumei jumped forward, throwing a small crystal device that created a shield around Jisu and the students. Your shield technology, Jisu said to Sumei with approval. Well done. Sumei's face showed surprise at her own bravery. I just improved it a little after seeing your project. Daeho worked with Professor Hyunwoo to activate the Academy's internal defense system. Small drones appeared, surrounding the domain soldiers with stun fields. You see, Sangmin, Jisu said as the domain commander was captured. This is why humans defeated you. We work together. We learn from others. We adapt. She turned to the students. And this is why I came to the Academy. Not just to protect the weapon, but to learn from all of you, to bring your knowledge back to Earth. The students looked at Jisu with new understanding. This human they had mocked had been learning from them all along, seeing value in their knowledge while they had seen none in hers. And now, Jisu said, looking at Sangmin, we need to talk about peace. Real peace this time. 2 weeks after the domain attack, the Academy had changed. Workers fixed broken walls and doors. New security systems were installed. But the biggest changes were not in the building, but in the people. Jisu walked down the main hall. Students stopped to look at her. Some nodded with respect. Others simply stared. No one laughed or mocked her now. The Galactic Council had come to the Academy after the attack. They took Sangmin and his soldiers away. Then they talked with Jisu for many hours. Admiral Kim called Professor Minji as Jisu passed the history classroom. May I speak with you? Jisu entered the room. On the wall was a new picture, Earth ships defending a Proximan colony from domain attackers. We've updated our history lessons, Minji said. The truth about Earth's role in the domain war is now included. Jisu nodded. Thank you. No, thank you, Minji said, for saving us, again. In the main hall, Jisu found Taeyang waiting for her. Ready for class? He asked with a smile. Yes, but it feels strange, Jisu said. Everyone knows who I am now. They walked together to the engineering classroom. Inside, Sumai stood by the teacher's desk. When Jisu entered, Sumai looked down at her feet. I need to say something, she said. The room went quiet. Everyone watched. I was wrong about humans. About you, Sumai said. Her crystal face showed real shame. I thought my people were better because of our technology. I thought humans were primitive. She looked up at Jisu. But you showed more courage and wisdom than anyone I know. I'm sorry for how I treated you. Jisu walked to Sumai and held out her hand, a human greeting gesture. We all have things to learn from each other. Sumai took Jisu's hand carefully. The Galactic Council has announced that Earth will get a seat at the table now. Because of you. Not just because of me, Jisu said. Because Earth has shown it belongs in the galactic community. Professor Hyunwoo entered the room. Today's class will be different, he announced. Admiral Kim will teach us about human engineering approaches. Jisoo looked surprised. I'm still a student here. Yes, Hyunwoo said, but you're also a teacher now. That evening, Jisoo stood on the academy roof, looking at the stars. Daeho joined her there. So what happens now? He asked. Will you go back to commanding ships? Jisoo shook her head. My fighting days are done. That's why I came here in the first place. I wanted to learn how to build things, not destroy them. Even after all we did to you, the way we treated you. Especially after that, Jisoo said. The domain war showed me that different species can work together against a common enemy. But true peace means working together when there is no enemy. Admiral Jinho had offered Jisoo a new ship to command. The Galactic Council had offered her honors and medals. But Jisoo had declined them all. She chose to stay at the academy. The next day, Jisoo began teaching her first class, Human Ingenuity in Crisis. Sumai and Daeho sat in the front row, eager to learn. Humans are not special because we're stronger or smarter, Jisoo told the class. We're special because we never give up. We adapt. We learn. We grow. She looked at her former bullies, now her students and friends, and our greatest strength is that we don't do it alone. We work together, with each other, and now with all of you. Outside the classroom window, stars shone in the purple Nexus sky. Somewhere out there, Earth waited for Jisoo to return with new knowledge. And somewhere, perhaps, other threats waited too. But for now, in this room, former enemies learned together. The human girl who had once been mocked now taught lessons of peace and cooperation. The admiral who broke an empire now helped build understanding between worlds. It was, Jisoo thought as she looked at her students' eager faces, a very good new beginning.